I was like a soldier crouched in a foxhole while shells were exploding around me. My world went from ordered, sensible, and predictable to a nonsense Alice in Wonderland world of insanity. Bill Lebowski isn't describing a war zone. He's describing the 4 years he spent at his college teaching while he was harassed by coworkers and his superiors. This is Bill Lebowski. He doesn't seem, particularly interesting. Seems like a goofy old guy. Just some Californian teaching math and whatnot. I guess you could see how he could be a victim, Now what about former Miami Dolphins starting offensive tackle Jonathan Martin? This guy is 6'5", 310 pounds. I'm sure he has 99 problems, but bullying probably isn't one of them, right? You'd be wrong. He walked off the Miami Dolphins 2 weeks ago and checked himself into a hospital for emotional distress. His tormentor was also his mentor, Richie Incognito, who used racial slurs, crude threats, and insults, specifically to his mother, over a voicemail, which people have heard. I've heard it myself. It's very horrendous. And packaged all of his conduct as training a new member or hazing. One of these scenes that Jonathan Martin described as the last straw was something from a Mean Girls movie where the team left a seat open at the lunch table. Jonathan sat down, they picked up their trays and flounced off. Sounds like good teamwork building skills, right? 80% of you are what our society deemed the age that is the young working force. So this topic affects all of you. According to the 2010 U.S. Workplace Bullying Institute survey, 35% of the working force Americans have been bullied and 15% have witnessed it being bullied. This is half of the working force in America that's dealing with this issue. Now, it doesn't get as much of a rap as the youth who are being bullied, but it covers such a broad spectrum and it affects every single one of you in this room today. So today, I'm going to prove why bullying must be dealt with in the workplace must be dealt with, what are its causes, and what are its solutions. Now I've given the magnitude for bullying, but let's look at the definition. It's repeated mistreatments, sabotage, people being left out of important meetings or not getting memos about things and looking like idiots because they didn't get certain information they needed to complete a report. Verbal abuse, threatening contact, intimidation, and humiliation. My own mother, 3 times at 3 separate jobs, has been a victim of workplace bullying by her employers. And if you look, actually, first time it was a coworker, but the next 2 times they were her managers. And the last time, this is recent, we've moved on to a new job now, thankfully she's in a better place. The last time, it was the owner. The time before that, the manager, and the time before that, a coworker. 72% of bullies in the workplace are the victim's bosses or someone in control of their financial circumstances through this. 68% of bullying is same-gender harassment. So, majority is women picking on women and men picking on men. So why don't they just leave? 40% need the money. It's economic reasons. They absolutely have to have this job to pay rent and feed their families. 36%, it's a pride matter. They don't want the bully to win, which no one does. We should never give them a terrorist. 24% are waiting for people to help them and stop the bullying. Sadly, 80% of bullying victims will be fired or quit. That's how the situation will be dealt with. It won't be resolved a majority of the time. In addition, 64% who have been targeted by bullies will lose their job for pretty much no reason. And because Florida is an at-will state, which means that employers can basically fire you whenever or wherever, this is very important. So, you're at work, you're a victim, You're already dealing with all of this stuff. You've got some psychopath narcissist tormenting you day in, day out. You feel like you're in third grade all over again where, someone's making fun of your glasses. It can't get much worse, right? Physical effects from stress and mental and emotional are very important. My mom went through just terrible migraines, hospital bills, it doesn't stop at the workplace. It follows you home and it affects your family. The physical effects are cardiovascular problems, strokes, heart attacks, adverse neurological changes. Your brain chemistry can change from all of the stress that is continuous. Immunological impairment. This basically means that you get a little sick a lot more often, and it happens all the time. So, that cold you got once a year, it happens more frequently, and it doesn't go away. Fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, diabetes, and skin disorder. This is more of the mental aspect. Anxiety, panic attacks, even post-traumatic stress disorder, which if you look back at Bill Lepowski's quote, where he's describing something that seems like a war zone, makes it seem you can see the relation to a war zone, going to work every day and being put through this. Now, what are the causes? Is it the bully themselves? Why does no one stop them? Who can stop them if 72% of bosses are the ones causing this? The Workplace Bullying Institute really, really defined this, and this is the main bulk of my research. They had a lot of good stuff. They basically went after statistic saying that employers define all work conditions. They're in charge of employee selection, job descriptions, pay, who's in charge of who, leave policies, employee termination, teamwork groups. So bullying can only be sustained or eliminated by the employers. So the employers need to step up and do something about this. But employers constantly mishandle the situation. Either they don't know their rights and they think there's going to be some lawsuit and they have this irrational fear that the bully is going to turn around and say, well, you can't fire me because da-da-da-da-da. It's an at-will state. You can fire the bully if you want to. Or they are the bully and they've created this workplace that is a cutthroat survivor of the fittest, workplace that isn't productive and no one can get any work done because they're constantly in fear of being stabbed in the back. Now, unfortunately, bullying is not illegal in any of our states.
Go to your conclusion.
Oh, sorry. There is no law that requires people to be nice to each other. These are the stereotypes for people. And in conclusion, I've covered the problems with workplace bullying, the causes, and the solution. No, I haven't.
That's okay.
So, stand up. If you see someone being bullied, do the right thing and make sure that it never happens again. And what I want to impress upon you, the most important thing, there are no stereotypes. As I showed you in our first slide, if you saw 67-year-old white guy, 130 pounds, soaking wet, and this big, tough, black football player, there are no stereotypes in the workplace. You have an academic professor and an athletic man. There are no stereotypes. It doesn't mean you're weak if you're being bullied. It just means that someone is threatened by you, and so, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm sorry, I ran out of time.
That's